So today we're going to be going over a data set in Tableau. Data set's going to be office supplies. We're going to be building our first bar chart in Tableau. Our goal with this data set is that we want to basically take the data and figure out which sales rep that's in the data from each region has earned a bonus. The criteria for the bonus is going to be who has the most sales in dollars within their region. And why is that important? Well, it's really just an exercise in answering a business question through a data visualization. So let's open Tableau and get started. So when I open Tableau, I'm immediately taken to this page. This is going to be the connect to a file page because I have nothing that I've worked in Tableau before on this computer, right? So I can connect to a Microsoft Excel file, a text file, Microsoft Access, PDS, a bunch of different types. And if we go to this, to a server here, if we had access to Tableau through a business, we'd likely have, somewhere between 15 to 100 different data sources that we can connect to, whether it be SAP, or any enterprise resource planning system, maybe any customer success system, something like Salesforce. We'd be able to connect to those, but we don't. This is a free version, so we're really going to be focusing on Microsoft Excel. There's also text file. So if your data that you're going to be using for your project is a CSV, and you try to open up an Excel file, you're not going to see it there. You're going to need to open up a text file, and you'll be able to locate that CSV file through text. CSV stands for comma separated values. It's in text format, which is different than a Microsoft Excel format, which is a little bit more complex. So for this one, we're going to go to Microsoft Excel. And then we get all these options. This is in my downloads files. We just have S2 office supplies. So if I double click and open up, well, we're taken right to this connector screen. So this is just stating on the left here, it's showing us our data source. Okay. So this screen is more or less straightforward. We're not really going to be doing any work here, but it's more showing like a layout of our data. We can see if we look down at the bottom here, over here we have these different fields. We have this little preview of the data, and we see the different types of data that we have, right? So for order date, it's a calendar because it's in date format. We don't need date and time, right? Because we're only looking at the date, the specific date, and not the hours. Or minutes of the day, which you may have in some cases in a real business instance. Then our region, our rep name, and our item, those are all going to be text files, and then our units and our unit price are all going to be numbers. So that makes sense to me. That looks good. I always like to do a double check there first. There's something that we can do, right? So you might have more than one file that you're working with, and this is where we get into connecting data sources. If I were to drag this sheet over here, we'll see this red arrow, and that's because, well, Tableau is trying to find a way to connect the data, but Tableau can't find a way. You'd need to have a unique identifier, something like think of a social security number or a sales rep ID, something that's unique that can link two sheets together if they exist on both, so that you can query data across multiple. We'll get into that a little bit later, not right now. So what I can do is I can click on here, and I can click on this, and I can remove that relationship. No need to follow my lead and have done that. But if you did, no worries. So now we're going to go to sheet one. Let's click on sheet one. This is where we're going to start building our visualization. Okay. So if we look at the screen here, if we look at the left, we'll see at the top we have office supplies, the name of our sheet. This is our data source, and if we right click and view the data, we'll see basically the data that we just saw in the previous window. Right click, view data, and we get this pop up. It popped up on my other screen, but we get this, and this is what the data looks like, right? So view data. Pretty much what we saw on the screen before, right? The columns can be rearranged in that screen. It's just another way to look at your data source, like I've said a couple of times on that previous screen as well. So that's how we connect to data sources. But additionally, if we want to add more data sources, we can always go back to we can go up to data here and hit new data source. we can click on this little snowflake tile. This little snowflake tile will bring us back um, to connect to additional data sources, but we don't need to do anything anything more right now. So if we get into just a little quick navigation of Tableau, it might look a little intimidating at first, but it's really a nice, easy interface once you dig into it a little bit. This is going to be our workspace. This is where we'll see our data visualizations displayed. If we go to Show Me up here, we get a few like different types of visualizations that are available in Tableau. Different types of bar charts, tree maps, um, different chloroplaths and heat maps, things like that. Line charts, all these different things, and then we can get into some fancier ones, some custom visualizations that you can download, which we don't need to get into right now. So we can exit out of the Show Me. And one thing that we want to note is that Tableau is always going to split up your data into dimensions and measures. So one way to think about dimensions and measures are that dimensions are independent variables and measures are dependent variables, okay? So Tableau will normally put any numerical values into measures and any categorical values into dimensions. That's the default Tableau setting. You can change it, but typically Tableau is pretty good at identifying the correct dimensions and measures, right? It that goes back to how we format our data. If it's date or if it's a number, we'll see it in in the measure section. So let's look at the top ribbon real quickly. So the top ribbon is fairly standard. We have data where you can upload data from. We have the file where you can save, you can close, save as, do a handful of other things. Really only need to focus on save for this. In worksheet, we can create a new worksheet. We can make a couple of updates showing cards, view data model. We're not going to really get into that. For dashboard, we'll talk about that later, but you can create new dashboards from here. Stories are also another thing that we can create. We won't be touching on stories in this class. Then there's analysis, map, format, server, window, help. All of those are advanced functions that we don't need to really concern ourselves with. Map will work with when we talk about maps, but outside their format, so there are different ways to access formats right up here. And we'll probably be doing that. We might actually touch on that. And then server, we're not going to touch on, so don't get hung up on that. And the window and helper are just auxiliary functions, right? We don't really need to touch on those. But now let's just focus on the main working area now. So the main elements in this working area are really columns and rows. Most sheets will be created by deciding what goes into columns and what goes into rows. And then in the mark section, we'll decide, you know, elements like color, size, and shapes, or the text, text style, and the fonts, the level of details, and maybe any tooltips that you want to include. Tooltips are little like notes that pop up when you hover over an image. So let's try and drag region into the middle right here. We'll just toss it in here, and we see we get region. It's showing the type of region. This pop up over here: region east, region west, region central. That's the tooltip. But we can see that that's one dimension. And now let's grab units, and we'll drag that in as well. And so what's this doing? Well, it's automatically summing up the units. So we're seeing the units sold by region. So a lot of units sold in central, a little bit middle amount in east, and the least amount in west. All right. And maybe you're not happy with units being here, so you can just drag and drop them into the columns. Okay, so let's take our units and just move it from there to columns. And look at that, we have our first bar chart, right? Pretty cool how it happens. And maybe we can make this a bit bigger. We can just drag it down a little bit. Now we have a slightly larger column, so we can see. And so here, right, we drag over and now we see another tooltip, right? It's actually showing because we don't have the numbers uh, just displayed. We have an actual data visualization instead of just sort of a chart. We see region, west, and units 231. So this comes in handy. In some more advanced ones, you'll be able to drill down and dig into the data, which we may get into in a little bit further in this lesson. Um, so there's also, right, if we go to this handy little tool, this little show me section, we can play around with that. So let's maybe look at a pie chart. It's going to break out the pie chart in different regions, and right, so we dig in, we see central, units, west, and can we make this a little bit bigger? We just need to find that corner and we can drag and drop, right? It's not going to get that much bigger, but that's okay. Right, okay. So a little bit bigger for us to see. Um, and so what are we looking at here, right? Where you see the region, it's broken out by color. This central has the largest proportion, so the blue. Um, and again, right, we're just sort of playing around. There's no really information or intent to what we're looking at, but we can see central, east, and west. It's kind of cool. Let's see what else we have. Maybe we try a bubble chart. We like bubble charts, and that's a pretty nice visualization, I think. Um, and let's take a look at what Tableau is doing for us here. So it puts everything in the right place, right? So we've seen if we have the pie chart, we have the summation in units, sum of units again, and the region in blue, we take the pie chart. And well, it moved region and region to text, region by color, and then by size, right? So if we dig in there, we can see a little bit more, right? How it's broken out right here, separating region by color. Right here, we're separating it by label and then by size. And if we look at um, our pie chart, we're separating region again by color, but then we're doing a sum by angle and sum by size. Okay, so we have that chart, and that's pretty neat. Um, we can also we can make some changes here, right? We could maybe change the let's say we wanted to change this size. We could make it a what is this? This is we can make it into a tree map, just adjust it to be squares instead of circles, right? It's pretty much the same visualization, just slightly different, right? Um, so that's pretty neat. Now maybe we want to look at an area chart, but it's not going to work right there. Where are we? All right. Well, this is what happens if you click that extension. You get all these different ones, so you can download some different types. If we want to look at Sankey chart or something like that, but we don't need to do that today. All right. Okay, so take a few minutes and just explore with the data set. If you haven't already, you can download that from the page. Um, and just, take a few minutes and explore, and then, feel free to hit pause, play around with it, and then we'll come back and we will start to go into trying to solve our problem of who should get a bonus. Time to play around, and now let's go on up here. We have this little X. All we're going to do is click that, and now we're reset. So we can get going on what we want to do. So let's start trying to solve the problem of who should get a bonus. Let's create a bar chart of our sales reps. So if we take reps and let's bring them into the columns section right here. And now let's see how many units they've all sold. So if we take units and we go into rows, well, now we're populated with a nice bar chart. Okay, so it looks like Richard has sold the most units, but we have 3 regions and 1 bonus that we can give out per region. So let's take region, right? And maybe drag that into columns. See what that does. Well, now look at this. We're separated by region, but what's wrong with this? It's a little bit confusing, right? A lot of eye travel here, maybe. Um, Low data to ink ratio. increase cognitive load. It's a lot to look at. So maybe we can try putting region before rep, and that neatens things up a little bit, right? Instead of having, let's take another look. Let's go back. Instead of having central, central west, central, central east, and the rep up top, well, we drag it over here. Oh, whoops, got rid of the rep. So now we have it a little bit more organized, okay? Right? We see central all grouped together, east all grouped together, and west all grouped together. Now we can hover over, see sort of the different sizes, or the different numbers, the number of units that each rep sold. Um, Instead of a one-to-one region breakdown, it's broken down by, or instead of a number one representative breakdown, it's broken down by regions, right? Now, if we want to order those, we could hover over the units label on the y-axis, and we click the three bars that come up whenever we hover, right? We click here, and that's going to organize our data from most to least by region, okay? We can do that again, and it'll go least to most. So a very clean and easy way to do this. If you've done this in Excel, it can be a little bit disorganized, right? It's not as easy to do it. So now we might think this answers the questions, right? But no, we actually aren't measuring our reps on the units moved, but rather the dollar amount that they've sold, right? This is just looking at the number of units total. So let's see, we don't actually have the total number available in the data set, right? We only have units and the unit price. We don't have an aggregate of the two. So now, how do we get that? Because we only have the four measures, right? We only have these four measures down below. Well, how would we do that regularly, right? We just need to multiply the units by the unit price. So let's get at that. And all we have to do is right click on measures right here, and we get this pop up. We can create a calculated field. Now we get this pop up here, and so let's give it a name. This is going to tell us who deserves the bonus, right? We're going to do this like we would do a formula in Tableau. Let's just call this total sales. And we're going to take our units and we're going to drag that in here. Very simple drag and drop, and then we're going to hit multiply. So times, and then we're going to go unit price. Very important that we have those parentheses in there. It's sort of the same as Excel, and so you're going to need to make sure that if we're typing this in, that we have these they're actually brackets, not parentheses, sorry, that you'll be using. And down here you'll see if it works or if it's going to work, that the calculation is valid. If it's not going to work, you'll see the calculation contains errors, and you'll need to figure out what it is to fix that. So we just add that bracket back, we hit OK, and now notice here we have a little equal sign in front of that total sales. And so now we have our first calculated field. Look at that. We were able to do this. So now let's drag this and replace our unit measure in rows. So we don't need the units, we need the total sales. And wow, how does that change? That's pretty significant. Let's go back here and we can go there. So we saw that Richard before had the most, but if we look at the total dollar amount, it's actually Susan. So congratulations, Susan in the East, you get your bonus. Matthew in Central, who was before? Let's take a look. I didn't have that captured in my memory. It was Alex before, but by dollar amount, Matthew replaces Alex, and then James. Does James keep it? James barely edges out Thomas in the West. So you have the most units and the highest dollar amount. So with this, we've answered our question of who gets the bonus by region. So in the East, Susan gets the bonus. In the Central region, Matthew gets the bonus. And in the West, James gets the bonus. So So that's that. Now, next we're going to get into colors. Let's quickly turn to colors. All right. So, how can we color this chart? Imagine this might be going into a presentation or going to some executives. Maybe it'll even just be hung up on a wall in your office. Um, and we want it to look nice. And we also want it to help the viewer understand what we're looking at um, in an instant, right? The whole purposeful use of colors, right? That entire chapter. We want to reduce that cognitive load and try to play to iconic memory. So here, how do we do that? We go to color. We have this little color area in the mark section, and we can change the color to pretty much anything our heart desires. Um, we want to just drag this, if I can get my mouse to work. Oh, sorry. Let's take the rep dimension, right? We want to take the rep dimension. We want to just drag that over into color, and now we'll notice that the colors change. Um, so you notice a little plus sign around the colors. Mm, where are we? So let's just take a look at color. Colors, all right. This is gonna pop up. So I sort of don't like how everything's a different color. I want to assign a different palette, right? We have all these different palettes here. If we go, and I'm going to assign them based on let's go maybe green gold. How about that? We can assign palette and hit apply. Um, so now it's broken out by region. We have these different colors, and that's okay, but it doesn't really do it for me. Maybe I want to just go to maybe some. Let's see. Let's see. It doesn't really matter. Let's just do shades of blue. Um, looks like it might be nice. Assign a palette, apply, and sure. That's nice. Some nice neutral colors. Scale doesn't really mean anything. It's just assigning it to the individual reps. Um, so let's maybe take total sales instead and drop that into color. And now this is a little bit better for me, I guess. Instead of just having it be like it was with rep, right? All sorts of different all sorts of different colors here. Not really telling a story or anything like that. If we just take total sales and drop it in, well, now we have a solid higher sales get a darker blue across the board. So we know who had the highest sales by, if we look at this key over here, by how dark the blue is. Nice, easy way to use colors. So you can play around with that and just edit to your heart's desire, whatever looks nice to you, whatever you think. There's no really best way to do it. There are definitely wrong ways to do it. Remember, we don't want every color under the sun in any data visualization, but we want to keep it clean and neat and still have the color convey some sort of image appropriately. All right. Now maybe we can move on to some labeling and formatting. So we want to continue to make this as appealing as possible to the eye, and we also want to make it easy to understand. Emphasis on the easy to understand. Okay, as we talked about in the previous classes, chart's going to have a lot more information in it. It has the region, rep, sales. So if I ask you how much Bill sold, you need to go ahead and you need to find Bill. You can always hover over it, right? But maybe you won't always have the access to hover over it in this fashion. So really, we need to move our eyes to the top and then over here to the right. Um, and it's if we look farther away, maybe we look towards James. It's a lot more eye travel, a lot more back and forth We don't need that. But Tableau allows you to make visualizations, and more than that, it allows you to make them very, very easy to understand. That's the beauty of these tools. So we want to communicate this data in a way that a person viewing it doesn't need to put much effort in to understand. So let's try and fix it right now. Let's try adding a label. So let's go ahead and take our total sales number again, and we can just drop it over and put it into to labels. And now the exact number of sales pops up right over the rep. Pretty neat, right? Um, and now let's change the labels from numbers to dollar by let's see. So we change that by let's take total sales. We can right click and we can go to what is it? Number format in default properties. And then we're going to get this little pop up over here. And let's change it to currency custom. And we can go down. Do we need any decimal places? Let's just go to one decimal place because we don't really need any. Negative values will be highlighted in parentheses. We want to display this in thousands, right? Because we're dealing with large numbers. We just want to display it in thousands to make it easier for us. And now let's hit OK. And wow, this is very easy to digest now, right? From here, we can't change the font size really, but we can change it in the labels section. So if we go to labels, we can do the font and just we can increase it, we can decrease it. I want to make it a little bigger because I got bad eyes. That's why I wear glasses. So now, nice, big, easy for me to see, pops right out at me. I don't need to do any thinking when I look at this chart. And voila, that's our first bar graph. And I hope I think it looks pretty good. I hope you're able to follow along and able to build this out as well. It's going to be the same in building any other chart. Play around with the show me. One great thing about the show me is that when you click on any of them, let's click on we can click on read map, right? It's going to tell us that we're missing the data required to build this visualization. So we would need to drop in something like a region, right? Something like a geographic area, excuse me, dimension to go there, and and also measure. But we can play around with that a little bit later. And hope you enjoyed this lesson. Hope you're able to follow along, and rewatch this as many times as you need and work through it. Very, very important, and also try it out with your data set that you've decided to use. We'll be posting another video shortly. Give me a day or two to get that up, and yeah, hope to see you soon.